Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to athletes who were caught cheating part 1. I've not done a reaction like this before, I don't think. I don't think I have, but I might be wrong. I will probably know one or two of these because I'm a sports fan. I know like quite a bit about sports. Actually, I don't know that much about sports, but I enjoy sports. I enjoy watching it, so I've looked into like sort of certain random stories before, and like cases like Lance Armstrong. I was gonna say his name's Lance Armstrong. I was gonna say Stuart Armstrong. God damn it, man! I'm not helping the case that I watch sports. Obviously he's like a cyclist, wasn't he? It was done for like doping, but I think it's been now found out that so many cyclists do the same thing. But yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. What's the cycling documentary called? I want to watch it. Something. Oh, what's it called? God, I was actually gonna watch it really soon. Something Us. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, I'm talking out my ass right now. Hopefully going to enjoy. If I was to guess some things in this, Lance Armstrong maybe, maybe some baseball players when they like stick the tar on their hands. Maradona, maybe he'll be on here, and I mean, yeah, maybe when some other ones pop up, I'll remember them, but maybe not. Maybe there'll just be some completely new ones that I've never seen before. Hopefully going to enjoy. What the hell's happened here? Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see extra reactions of mine, but let's jump into this, man.
An attitude of winning at all costs sees some athletes throw the rule book out. An attitude of winning at all costs sees some athletes throw the rule book out the window. But once they've crossed that finish line or climbed that podium, a single keen-eyed onlooker can bring all their hard-won success crashing down. With that, let's take a look at some shocking times athletes were caught cheating.
Dwight Howard's there.
Rosie Ruiz. If you look up the definition of cheating in the dictionary, there's a good chance you'll find a picture of Rosie Ruiz's face next to it. Back in 1980, this athlete became famous almost overnight after she won the Boston Marathon.
I know this one. I know this. Doesn't she like run in like halfway through, but like she cut across the course or something, didn't she?
No, she crossed the finish line with the third fastest time of any woman ever recorded. But once she was over the line, suspicions began to arise. After running over 26 miles so quickly on a 70-degree day, she should have been completely exhausted. But Ruiz appeared suspiciously well rested, raising questions. Was she on some kind of steroids? Perhaps a special training regimen? After several days of confusion, witnesses came forward claiming they had seen Ruiz join the race from the sidelines less than a mile from the finish.
Wow.
About a half mile from the finish.
That is unreal, man.
She was in track clothes and wearing a number, but I thought someone had just sort of stumbled into the race. Maybe somebody was a little...
Further investigation revealed that during the New York Marathon 6 months earlier, witnesses had actually seen Ruiz riding the subway to the finish line. Even though she denied both accusations, the evidence was piled against her, and Ruiz was stripped of her win and record. Although you have to hand it to her, that's certainly one way to train.
Wow.
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard,
when it comes to cheating, sometimes you need the biggest balls on the court. Or in Dwight Howard's case, the stickiest. Back in 2016, Dwight was playing NBA-level basketball for the Houston Rockets. While the Rockets were playing against the Atlanta Hawks, officials realized the ball was covered in a tacky substance right after Howard had touched it. The rules of the NBA state that it's illegal to use foreign substances during games, so this raised several red flags. Officials wandered over to the bench and found a glaringly obvious can of Stickum, a kind of spray adhesive, in plain sight of everyone. It was once used to help players get better purchase on the ball, but it was banned from the sport in 1981. Both teams were warned, but no player was accused, and the game continued. After the game, however, Howard admitted to Houston Chronicle writer Jonathan Fain that it was him. But not just that, he then also admitted to using Stickum in every game he played. Somehow the baller just...
So he just basically said his whole career was a fraudulent career. Obviously not. I'm not actually going to say that, but that's kind of wild.
So laughed the incident off, and no finer charge was ever brought against him.
How was never noticed
before? Could have been a very sticky situation.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't like given some harsher punishments, because you know those leagues like to sort of be strict about that kind of stuff.
2012 Olympic badminton players.
What's happened here?
Of all the sports you
might
associate with cheating, I doubt badminton immediately springs to mind. But at the London 2012 Olympics, intentionally throwing matches became the new winning strategy for several teams. A round-robin system was used in this Olympics, which meant all teams would face each other at some point. The results of earlier matches would be used to put teams into suitable skill brackets, pitting teams of similar ability against one another. So, by strategically losing some games early on, a team could play easier matches against weaker teams at the knockout stage with better chances of winning. This was a strategy that China's team players Wang...
That just sounds like it's a bad way to flipping layer out the tournament. Then that's just on the Olympic committee.
Zhao Li and Yu Yang attempted to exploit.
Bro, if I've got the chance to play someone easier, I'm gonna do that. I mean, obviously you got to play the best to be the best, but this is sports we're talking about. There's no obviously you want to play the best and that stuff, but if you have the chance to play an easier team or an easier group of people, you're gonna take it, man.
In the women's doubles tournament. Unfortunately, the South Korean team they were facing had adopted the exact same strategy. Jung Kyung-moon and Kim Ha-na faced the Chinese team on the court, and the world bore witness to one of the worst games of professional badminton ever played. How bad? Well, the longest rally in the first game only lasted 4 strokes. A series of clearly intentional, basic errors ruined the game, and fans jeered and booed at the teams as they left.
Jesus Christ, that's mental. I gotta respect it, man. I gotta respect it.
To make matters worse, another match between a separate South Korean team and Indonesian team suffered the same clash of strategies.
No way.
Because what they were all attempting was so blatantly obvious, all 4 pairs were formally accused of trying to rig the matches by performing poorly. As punishment, they were disqualified from the rest of the tournament.
Wow.
Hopefully, that'll teach them not to be so shuttlecocky in the future. Spanish Paralympic basketball team.
Everyone knows about this one.
In 2000, the Sydney Paralympics was rocked by a scandal that still has people shaking their heads with shame today. On the Australian Paralympic courts, the Spanish learning disabled basketball team beat Russia in their final match to win gold. But after the games closed, a member of the team, Carlos Ribagorda, confessed something outrageous to the press. The team was supposed to be made up exclusively of players with an IQ of less than 70. But 10 of their 12 players were actually mentally competent athletes with much higher IQs than the maximum. Apparently, they had all signed up as part of a wider scheme to boost their country's chances of winning. They'd even been provided with fake medical certificates to help them feign disabilities. Worst of all, for 2 years leading up to the Paralympics, they had trained around the world beating disabled athletes.
That is unreal,
even with all
man.
that exercise, I don't know how they could sleep at night. Shockingly, the match...
I can't get over the fact that they actually done this, and they got away with it for a bit until someone... Well, there was a guy who was that he said he was like an inside person who was like reporting
mastermind behind the scheme was the president of the Spanish Federation of Sports for the Intellectually Disabled.
Insanity.
But he was fined just 5,400 euros after admitting to charges of fraud and embezzlement. Maybe these pieces of work should have competed in the limbo event instead, seeing just how low they can go. Tonya Harding. In 1994, the world of figure skating became a total media circus.
Ice skating, figure skating.
After drama struck the ice. The day before the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, title holder Nancy Kerrigan was filmed finishing a practice skate in Michigan's Cobo Arena. But just seconds later, she was screaming in pain on the ground after a man with a police baton attacked her.
I don't know, it's some hard black stick.
With her thigh badly bruised, Kerrigan was unable to compete. Her longtime rival, Tonya Harding, went on to take first place and was selected alongside her for that year's Winter Olympic skating team. However, police soon discovered the attack on Kerrigan had been ordered by a bounty hunter. In a shocking twist of events, Tonya Harding's ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, and her once bodyguard, Sean Eckert, were labeled as the culprits. They'd hired the bounty hunter to break Kerrigan's leg, removing Harding's competition in the upcoming events. Although she claimed she had no part in the conspiracy, Harding later admitted that she knew her ex-husband had been involved, but she'd failed to report it. A disciplinary panel stripped her of the championship title shortly after she'd participated in the 1994 Winter Olympics. But the Olympics had been filled with some justice of their own. At the games, a malfunction with her skates saw Tonya placed down in 8th, while Kerrigan managed a silver in 2nd. Karma gets pretty icy sometimes.
Gee, that's nuts.
Bloodgate. Back in 2009, the world of rugby was shaken to its foundations during the scandal now known as Bloodgate. In a Heineken Cup match...
How the hell do you... Where's the cheating here? What? That is grim.
Between the English Harlequins and the Irish Leinsters, the Harlequins' Tom Williams was suddenly pulled off the pitch in the game's closing moments. He had blood dripping from his
Oh
mouth
my
and was told he
days.
couldn't play on. But the only substitute available was Nick Evans. Nick had also been injured earlier in the game, and under normal circumstances, the rules state that a player can't be subbed out more than once per game. But thanks to an exception in the rules specifically regarding blood injuries, Nick was allowed to hobble out regardless. Fortunately, Nick was exactly the type of player the Harlequins needed at that moment to have a shot at winning the match. It seemed like a bloody good stroke of luck. But as Williams headed towards the bench, the cameras caught him winking to his teammates. Would you be winking and smiling after a supposed injury to your face? Something definitely wasn't right, so the European Rugby Cup set up an investigation into the substitution. They found Williams had been given a fake blood capsule by the team's physiotherapist in order to allow Evans back on at
What? So he baited himself out by winking, and now they found this. What the hell? There's such a thing as a blood capsule? God damn it.
a critical moment. It was an illegal tactic orchestrated by the team's chief executive, Dean Richards, who was accused of 4 similar incidents. Richards, Williams, and the physiotherapist all received bans from the sport, and the Harlequins club was slapped with a £260,000 fine. Worst of all, the Harlequins cheating didn't even bag them to win. To this day, the BBC claims it was rugby's biggest scandal, and I'm inclined to agree. Well,
It does ring a bell, but I can't remember this.
that are the 2009 alternate away kit designs from Stade Francais.
What is
Yikes.
that? God damn.
Michael Pineda.
Here we go, some baseball.
In sports like baseball, one fumble can be the difference between victory and defeat. But back in 2014, New York Yankees pitcher Michael Pineda simply couldn't get a grip. As his team faced off against the Boston Red Sox, the Major League Baseball pitcher decided to up his game by using pine tar to improve his grip on the ball. He placed a small patch of the sticky substance on his neck, with his plan being to discreetly rub the ball there before throwing it. But not discreetly enough, it would seem. Before long, the Red Sox coach had spotted something afoot and was informing the referee. And funnily enough, at the same moment the coach complained about Pineda, a fan in the stalls could be seen pointing out Pineda's obvious faux pas.
No
After
way.
several umpires checked his hands and neck, Pineda was immediately ejected from the game. In the 10 games following, the rules of Major League Baseball state pretty clearly that you can't use foreign substances on the ball, but this wasn't the first time Pineda had been caught cheating like this.
Okay.
He'd used the same pine tar in a previous match against the Red Sox and had even been caught on camera having obviously applied it.
Look
Maybe
how
Pineda
obvious
just
that
wanted to
is.
live up to the pine part of his name, but this was hardly a pitch-perfect way to go about it. 2012 Olympic women weightlifters. The final lift of the 75 kilograms category at the 2012 Olympic women's
Bruh, look at these women, man. They could lift me without any struggle at all, bro. They are built as shit,
The
man.
event was an incredible moment for
God
everyone
damn.
watching. Both Svetlana Podobedova and Natalia Zabaletnaya had set new Olympic records for women, with Podobedova taking the gold for Kazakhstan. In doing so, she'd pushed Zabaletnaya of Russia into
the
silver
legs of
and
that.
Belarusian lifter Irina Kulesha to third. They all made lifting weights look natural, except there was nothing natural powering the performance of these
Okay.
ladies. Despite testing clean for
But the thing is, yeah, they're all competing at the top, but they're all cheating at the same time. So surely that sort of... Obviously, it's still bad that they're cheating, but the fact that they're all... I guess what he's going to say is using some kind of drug. Then also takes that away as well, because they're all cheating, but there's still a winner, right? Like... Unless, I guess, the other people that didn't do as well were actually not cheating. But I feel like in these sorts of sports, there's always going to be certain people who try and find little loopholes and stuff, isn't there?
legal performance-enhancing drugs at the time, the International Olympic Committee began reanalyzing athlete drug tests in 2015. Thanks to an advance in technology, the committee were able to pick up previously overlooked substances, catching past cheaters who thought they'd gotten away with it.
No
The
way.
reanalysis revealed a list of athletes who had clearly violated anti-doping
Here we
laws,
go.
including 3 names you'll recognize: Svetlana Podobedova, Natalia Zabaletnaya, and Irina Kulesha. All 3 of the muscle-bound matriarchs were disqualified, stripped of their medals, and had their Olympic records nullified. So even though they were pumped up on steroids, they still managed this all-natural fail. Femke van den Driesche. While some athletes work to improve themselves, others work to improve their methods of cheating. That was a sad fact that became clear back in 2016 after cycling champion Femke van den Driesche became the first ever athlete to be caught mechanical doping. That's a fancy way of saying she'd hidden a motor in her equipment to make the race easier.
No way! Is that even possible? Well, obviously it is, but how? Firstly, how do you think you're going to get away with it? Because surely it makes a certain sound. But secondly, god
He was
damn it,
competing in the
technology's crazy.
cyclocross championships when she suddenly stopped mid-race, claiming there was a problem with her bike. But on closer inspection, officials spotted wires and a battery concealed under the bicycle seat, leading to a motor hidden in the crankshaft. Vandendriesche was able to turn the motor on and off inconspicuously through a Bluetooth button attached at the handlebars.
What?
This turned the crank and helped push the pedals at key points in the race. Like here, where on a difficult climb, Vandendriesche was seen easily pulling away from the
She's just destroyed her whole career because of this, that's nuts.
group with very little effort. When asked to deliver her defense, she claimed the bike belonged to her friend Nico van Mulder. Even though he confirmed her story, the rules at the time stated that the responsibility for the bike was
Somehow.
all hers.
For sure.
She was hit with a 6-year ban from professional cycling and a fine of 20,000 Swiss francs,
Crazy,
which is just shy of $21,000. Before being stripped of all her previous titles. Guess she should have pumped the brakes on that plan.
She's ruined her whole career because she wanted to press a button to help her up a few flipping mountains. Jeez, have you ever been caught cheating in a sport? I haven't even been caught doing a sport. This guy must be a dad with all the dad jokes and puns he makes. I caught a cameraman running faster than Usain Bolt. I've seen a video of like a cameraman literally running 100 meters at the same speed as sprinters with a big ass camera on his shoulder. 4:37. I think this is one of the worst cases of cheating I've ever seen. It's one thing to cheat, it's another thing to fake certificates, beating disabled teams. Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? If this was the first time I heard about that story, I would have been blown away. But I've seen it so many times now. It's just like, yeah, this is wild. But hopefully you enjoyed this. If you play sports, do you cheat? Because I feel like there's always a little bit of aspects. Certain aspects in sport where people may find loopholes. Not necessarily cheat, but you'll find shortcuts and certain ways to sort of make it easier for yourself. But then there's people who genuinely just cheat. They'll give themselves certain drugs. They'll put a motor in their bike. All this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just like, I guess that's what separates the real athletes from the frauds. But hopefully you enjoy this. If you want more reactions like this, or maybe I'll do a reaction to part 2 or another video out there. But yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.